Hello, everybody, and thank you for dialing into the channel SWU podcast. My name is Jared. I am one of your hosts, and joining me on the line all the way from Madison, Wisconsin, it's Austin. What's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy. Going well. It's pre-release weekend.
We had pre-release weekend. Yeah, it's a very exciting time. So today on the episode, we're going to be going over our pre-releases, how that went for us, and pretty much some of our early observations on how Lawless Time is going to go for, at least for sealed. Haven't done any drafts yet, although I do have one coming up really, really soon. But we're going to be talking sealed today. So before we're going to do any of that, though, Austin, let's crack a pack.
I'm ready. I'm excited.
Yeah. This is our first ever Lawless Time cracker pack. For the sake of these, we'll just assume that we have every leader at our disposal for the sake of argument. All right, so first up, we have the Circuit Challenger. This is that 5-cost heroic 4/5 ambush.
Solid start. I like that card.
Yeah, don't mind it. Next is Industrious Team. This is the Vigilance 8 resource 4/7 Underworld Bounty Hunter that when you play it, you can defeat a non-leader unit with 4 or less hit points. Probably wouldn't go for that one over Circuit Challenger since that one's kind of expensive. The Sun Tool Berserkers. This is the 6-cost aggressive villainous Underworld Trooper. That's the 8/5 Overwhelm. Would you take this over the Circuit Challenger?
This is where it becomes so much easier if I know what leaders I have. I think I still lead ambush. Like, I love that ambush keyword, and especially in this set, I think I might still lean towards that. I
think I'm still leaning the ambusher myself. Next is the Shield Drive Outfitter. That's the 1-cost 1/3 that when you play, you can pay 1 to give another unit a shield token. Don't think that's going to get picked before the others. We have a Hyperspace Phoenix Squadron. I would take the Sun Tool Berserkers over this, but I think I'm still on the Circuit Challenger.
Yes. Same.
Myself. We also have a Hyperspace Stalwart Fleet Trooper. I didn't know you could get 2 Hyperspace in a single pack.
Oh man, the pack collation is wild. I saw 2 people. I saw people who were getting multiple prestige cards in a regular booster pack inside of their pre-release kits.
Wow. Stalwart Fleet Trooper is a 3/3 Sentinel heroic. I think I'd probably take the Circuit Challenger before the Sentinel.
Mm-hmm.
Profiteering Hunter. This is the 1-cost command unit. It's a 1/3 that says when played, you can give another friendly unit +1/+1 for this phase. Nah, like a D-level card.
Yeah.
All right. How about our first cunning card, the Axe Forgets. This is the event that says you can return a non-leader unit to its owner's hand that costs 3 or less.
I do like that.
I do like this one a lot too.
I'm almost always going to take a unit over an event.
Yeah, for your first pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so probably still the Circuit Challenger right now. How about a Pirate Snub Fighter? This is the 2-cost Command Villainy 2/3 Space Ambush unit. No.
I wouldn't take it over the 4. So it's a fine ship, but it's not killing nearly as much as that 4/5.
Yeah. How about a third Hyperspace? This is a Hyperfoil Windfall. The 5-cost Cunning, create 3 credit tokens.
Well, definitely not that.
Yeah, definitely not taking that one. All right. Now we're in our uncommons. Our first uncommon is Shadow Cloaking. The 5-cost Vigilant Aggression Villainy event that says ready a unit and give it a shield token.
It's more tempting than the other events thus far, but I think I'm still on that 4/5.
Yeah, not too exciting so far. And then we have the Salvaged Blaster. This is the 2-cost red item upgrade that gives it +2/+0, but it has that ability where if it was discarded from your hand or your deck, you can play it from your discard pile this phase. I'm still not really going to take that, am I? Okay. Do I have something here that can finally change your mind? How about Finn?
Oh, yeah.
6 cost,
my mind has changed.
It's a 6 cost cunning Vigilant 6/5 with ambush, and on attack, you may give a shield token to a non-unique unit. There we go. We went from a 5-cost kind of generic ambusher to someone that actually does something with Finn.
Notably much more difficult. It puts you in a place. You have to be ready to use your base on this guy or be cunning and vigilance.
I mean, I don't see much of an issue using my base for something like Finn. Finn's just good.
Yeah.
And finally, our rare card is Lieutenant Gorn. This is a 3-cost cunning heroic 4/4 Imperial Rebel that says, on attack, take control of an enemy credit token. 3-cost 4/4.
It is, but Finn is just so strong. I think I'm still on Finn.
Yeah,
it's a good rare though.
Yeah, it is a solid rare, but yeah, I think if this was a pack 1 pick 1. I'd be happy taking Finn here. He's not heroic, he's not villainous, so he can go into anyone, and he would just be a solid target to use those bases on. So I think for the most part, he's going to make it to almost any deck that even touches one of his colors.
I think I'd take him and hope to wheel the 1/3 that gives the shield, because he's a low enough card that maybe I get that back. Other options being like the Axe Forgets or something like that.
Sure. All right, you know what? Let's do another one.
Okay.
Let's do a second crack back, because that was fun. I like this.
Yeah, I'm in for it.
All right. Okay, so starting off, we have the Vandor Range Troopers. This is the 4-cost blue villainy 4/6. I got to play these guys in pre-release. I like them. They were just kind of solid statted units. And we hadn't really had a 4-cost 4/6 before. Lots of 4/5s, not a whole lot of 4/6s. The next is the B-Wing Skirmisher. This is the 4/4 in space for 4. Red heroic, that when played, you can deal a damage to each of up to 2 space units.
I would honestly, I know we might differ in this. I would take that over.
You would take the Skirmisher over the Troopers.
Yeah.
I could see the argument as to why. And
a 4/4, like even if his when play doesn't hit, just the 4/4 in space that just it just keeps getting in, whereas that 4/6 can get tied up in the ground a lot more easily.
Yeah, I think I'd still lean the range troopers, but it kind of depends on your deck's game plan, right? Like, if you're playing, something a little more aggressive, like an Enfys Nest or something, you probably want that skirmisher. Yeah. But if you need something to kind of go longer, having those range troopers on the ground just to kind of brawl a little bit, I would lean more towards that. I can certainly see the argument for both. I think they're about. I have to, go back and check our notes. I think we graded them about the same. Like, I'd be happy picking either one here.
Yeah, okay, so very specifically, I was higher on the ship and you were higher on the 4/6.
Right,
so
right.
It makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so we got 2 possible contenders here. All right. Can interest you in a droid laser turret. This is the 3-cross blue 2/1 Sentinel Shielded. Usually stops 2 attacks.
Yeah, that makes it really tough. That is good. It's just, and it's a solid 3. Like, I would have to give this one a good long think.
I think I would still be on the range troopers or the skirmishers myself. Just because I feel like either one of those units are more likely to help you win the game, whereas the droid laser turret certainly helps you not lose.
Sure. Yeah.
But droid laser turret
it comes down to
good.
I think if I was a 7 deploy leader, I'd take the turret.
Sure.
But anyone else, and I'd probably still be on my spaceship.
Okay. Next is the Overcharged Transport. This is the 4-cost aggressive unit in space. It's just the 4/3 that has the when played and when defeated, you can defeat an upgrade on another space unit. So not quite as good as the B-Wing Skirmisher.
Yeah.
Does have the advantage of not being heroic or villainy, but yeah, just kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Naka Gang Starhopper, the cunning 2-cost 2/2 Saboteur in space.
It's a 2-drop ship you can play.
It's a 2-drop ship, yeah. The Target Tagger. This is the 3-cost green bounty hunter. It's a 3/3 that says, when played, you can attack with another unit. If it's a bounty hunter, it gets +2/+0 for this attack.
I think this would be if I was Boba, it's very specifically, if I had him
Sure.
in my 3-leader pool, I think I would probably take a speculative pick on him because
Speculative
he is very strong.
pick. Next up is improvise. That's not really playable, so I don't think we really need to discuss that one much. I don't know if you got to play with this one, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. The Partisan U-Wing, a 5-cost green rebel vehicle transport in space. It's a 3/5, and it says when played, if a friendly unit was defeated this phase, create a credit token.
I would still be on the 4/4, but this is, I think it's fine. I didn't get to play with it and I didn't play with it or against it at all in my pre-release.
It was one I kind of considered for a little bit, and I think I'm a little more down on it than maybe I initially was, because of just how it doesn't have quite enough power for me, or what I would want, or what I would be looking for. Even if I would really want that credit token, but making a credit token at 5 seems a little later than I would prefer.
I think it's the time when I would, because it gets you from 6 to 7 on your next resource turn, and 7, 8, 9 is really where you start to hit the credit payoffs in terms of powering out a
I hear that. I don't know. I also think at 5 I can just be playing way more impactful units.
Yeah, the 3/5 on 5 is not something I'm crazy about. I think it's more what it is.
All right. Next is the criminal contact. That's the neutral 1/4 where on attack you can pay 2 to make a credit token. No, he's not going to make it. Follower of the Code, the 2-cost command droid bounty hunter. It's a 2/3 with restore 1. It's our Harpa foil.
Yeah, it's a fine card, but not over any of it.
Yeah, I think Vander Range Troopers and B-Wing Skirmishers are still kind of up there for us right now. All right, so these are our uncommons. And the first one is Hunter for Hire. This is that green 3/4/4 where it says action, defeat a friendly credit token. You may take control of this unit, and any player may use this action. No. There's plenty of other 3-cost 4/4s out there, and this one is too much of a risk. Like, other players are going to be making credit tokens, and you don't want to spend yours just trying to claim this guy back. Next one is Chio Fane. This is the 2-cost vigilance aggressive 2/4 underworld bounty hunter that has the on attack. Choose 2 players. They each draw a card. They may. It's a 2/4.
No, still no. Yeah, I mean, he's fine, but
yeah, it's a 2/4. And next uncommon is Sabine Wren. A 3-cost aggressive cunning heroic 3/3 with ambush. When played, defeat a non-unique upgrade unless you control a command or vigilance unit. Then you can defeat any upgrade. 3/3 ambush for 3.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's correct, but I would probably roll the Sabine.
Go with the Sabine. I don't think I would. I probably would. I think I would personally take the B-Wing Skirmisher over Sabine. I mean, I think
a tough one, but there's enough, like, it's non-unique, doesn't really come into play. Like, even the legitimate, like, card upgrades are all non-unique, so you're always going to pop her even without the Spectre thing.
Yeah. There is a surprising amount of experience being thrown around in this set, so she'll probably have a target as well.
And shields too, just random shields here and there too.
I think the 3/3 stat line is what brings me down on her enough compared to the 4/6 or the 4/4.
Yeah, the 4/6 on 4 is, and it's a B-Wing is a skirmisher, a 4/4 on 4 or a 4/4 on 5.
4/4 on 4
on 5 or
on
4 on 4. That's tougher.
So to help the discussion right away, I can tell you that our rare was the blue rare base, so we can just kind of put that to the side and not really talk about it. Yeah, assuming I just had a variety of leaders in my pool, both villainous and heroic, I guess it would depend on the leader. I probably would still lean towards those Vander Range Troopers and just get the 4/6 for 4s. Though I do think the B-Wing Skirmishers are also just as good. I don't think I would personally take Sabine Run over the Skirmisher, but you and I are also very different players.
Yeah, I like the ability to like she's gonna ambush almost every single 2-drop and kill it and stay alive, and so that is provided they didn't kill your 2-drop first, that you now have your 3 and their 2, and they have whatever they play on 3, I guess. Which if it is a 3-cost 4/4 is pretty unfortunate, but there are only like a couple, 3 or 4 of those total, and some of them are like that, the one where you can steal it with a credit. Not great.
Of course, that's assuming if you get to play her out on this 3 resource turn.
Sure, she's significantly worse. Not. Sure. She's a whatchamacallit, the official for the red 3/1 from last set. If you're playing her,
the Outer Rim Constable.
Outer Rim Constable. Thank you.
All right. Those are some cracker packs. All right, we're gonna go right into how our sealed events went for this weekend. Talk about our sealed builds and some of our early observations. And man, I've certainly noticed a couple things right away. I was fortunate enough to be able to do 2 pre-releases before we got to record this. And Austin, you got to do 1. We can talk about our pools in general if you want to go through them a little more thoroughly, or we can just kind of go or just talk about our first thoughts. And I'm going to start off and tell you one of my first things that I noticed, having gotten to do 2 different sealed builds. And for anyone who is currently either watching this on YouTube or if you're listening to the audio version, if you got to do a pre-release, maybe you noticed this as well. Maybe we're way off base. If not, let us know. I felt like this is the hardest sealed builds I've had to do in Star Wars Unlimited yet.
I think this is going to be the most like what's the term people want, like skill expressive seals we've ever seen. Like even just in the deck build alone, it's not as straightforward as most of I would say above 50% of your pools typically built themselves in sets before this, and that is not the case here. I don't think. I built 3 or 4.
And I hope saying that maybe brings a little bit of solace to some people who are watching, who maybe they got to do their own pre-release. Maybe they felt the same thing we did. It's like, oh, hey, this is actually kind of hard. You're not alone. This was. And honestly, it's because of all of the new multicolored cards. I think that's what was really tripping me up, because those cards are powerful and like you want to be able to play those. And it was certainly skewing my thought process on trying to make those work, or even trying to force those leaders to work. So I'll give you an example. So the first sealed build that I got to do was at Emerald City Comic Con. I got to do a pre-release there, and I opened up my 6 packs, and I opened up 2 Obi-Wan Kenobi. So right away, I'm like, oh, that's sick. I want to play heroic. I want to put Obi-Wan in there because I'm going to have the 7/7 Sentinel, 2 of them, that's just going to shut everything that they do down. However, my leaders that I got was 3 Hera, Darth Vader, the Client, and someone else that I can't remember right now. I want to say it might have been like Boba Fett or something like that. So my only hero option was Hera.
She's already green. You're halfway there.
Yeah, and that's what I thought too. And then, so I was doing my build, and I was trying to do everything I could to justify green something to play these Obi-Wans, and my hero pool was just so shallow, like embarrassingly shadowed. And I like, we put our cards out, we do our organization, we start laying them out as if we were trying to build our deck to see our curves and all that. I did that for every single color combination with green and counted it up, and every single time I'm just like, there's just not enough here. Which sucked because I probably wasted a good, 15, 18 minutes going for these sealed builds, trying to make these Obi-Wans work that just can't. I didn't have the cards to support them. And that was hard. Like, it was hard to. It was also hard to build that, and it was hard to let that go. Because those are such good cards, I had to like consider my other options.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was the first thing I noticed. That I was like, this seems kind of tough. And then when I did the next pre-release, kind of the same thing. Like, a lot of those dual colored cards made me be like, ooh, I really like this card, and I like this combination of colors. I want to get into that combination of colors and make that work. And then same thing, it's like, this doesn't seem that strong. It doesn't seem powerful enough compared to, say, these two other colors. So I found myself really needing to consider a lot more options. Not necessarily force them, but yeah, I think it's like you said, this was none of the decks really seem to build themselves that easily. And normally when you get some of these dual colored cards, it feels like, oh, there's my direction. I go for that. And that's not always the case, is it?
Yeah. And I think it also, the fact that there are so many of these multicolored cards now, it affects the number of cards you obviously get in, your generic red, your generic aggression, generic cunning, and things like that. So you have fewer of those. So like,
right.
You need to be able to build up the deck, but now you have a whole bunch of cards that aren't necessarily in your color pair, and you don't want to oversaturate the number of cards you need to use your base for. So you have fewer options. So like your deck, your lineup of traditional, neutral cards plus your heroic and villainy is going to look a little bit weaker than it has in past sets, because you have so many of these multi-aspect cards, but those multi-aspect cards will bring the power back in that you kind of lost in your standard your one or two aspect color cards.
Yeah, and the power absolutely matters, but I think what you're saying also matters a lot too, where suddenly a good chunk of your uncommons may end up in combinations that just don't work out for you. So there's also a very palpable mathematical difference in these builds, just because like your colors are even more skewed than they were before. So that was one of the first things that I noticed. And having it done a second build, it just kind of seemed to really solidify for that. And what I found in the building itself is because there were so many off aspects, and, we got our bases, so we know that we can play some things just off aspect and use our base to kind of splash that in there, especially for some of our heavier hitters or our bigger bombs or whatever. Because of that, if I put a color combination together that I really liked and just felt like, all right, this is it. This is my deck. This is my 30. I'm good. I still have 5 to 6 off aspect cards I can consider. And finding the cuts for those off aspect cards, I found to be way more challenging than I expected as well.
Yeah, I think I would hesitate to call it blessed, but my gold cards hold a certain direction more than others, but I did have, I think I had 7, a pool of 7 of them to consider off aspect, and that was not including my, a couple of generic neutral color non multi aspect cards that could have potentially been worth the splash when I was building my pool.
What I found for myself is that, I didn't get to play my Obi-Wans, which were the biggest rares that I had opened up for both events, frankly. And then even my second event, the off aspect cards I got, none of them they weren't our bomb levels. I didn't get any of the B pluses. I didn't get any of the A's that we talked about, but I did get some solid ones. So for my second sealed build, which I did record and is going to be up on this channel up this week, so you guys can look forward to that. I ended up building a Aura Sing Cunning deck, and I had what I considered to be several just solid vigilance and cunning cards in there. I had I had the Blade Wing, I had Jabba's Rancor, I had plenty of 2-drops. I had Sentinels in the shape of the droid laser turret, Troig. I had the Toydarian. What's his name? The technician, the 2-3
Technician. Yep.
Yeah, the 2-3 raid 1 restore 1.
Mm.
Guild ambush team, Syndicate security, the Canto fight security, so like an extra sentinel that way. So like a lot of like just solid cunning and vigilance cards, and there was enough there that, like I said, I could put together the 30. But then I knew I had these off aspect cards that I could slot in that are strong, and what I would have to take out to bring those in so that I was overall lifting the power level of the deck and not somehow decreasing it or somehow messing with the curve enough that I was going to put myself in further trouble. So I found what I would have to cut to be as aggravating as a choice as what it is that I would want to put in.
Yeah, I think that's very, very real. There's, I think I had to, when I built it, just like what I like to do typically is I will lay out all of the cards in the 2-color, but with my base plus plus my leader, I'll lay out every single card, and then I'll count those out and figure out how many cuts I need to make. And there's almost obviously always like the event, the cruddy events and the useless 1-drops that are the first easy cuts.
Yeah.
And then boiling down after that is kind of where it really, you typically the last 2 or 3 cards, at least I think and that's not considering like, okay, how many you bring in now, your off aspect, your splash cards. You're like, okay, how many of these now? Where it used to be when you just had your 2 aspects to worry about, no splash base, you're kind of like, okay, yep, I cut my last 3 cards, maybe I have 1 or 2 cards left to cut. And now it's like, okay, if I pile in all of the potential splash cards into my pool, now I have 8 cuts or something like that to make.
Yeah, and I think that what really changed this, because a lot of times in previous formats, when you put together a sealed deck, you're putting together just a real solid, really happy with, you've got 26, 27 card pile. And you're like, yeah, these are all great. It's like, well, but the minimum's 30. What do I need to get in there to hit that minimum, or, making sure I'm getting enough 2-drops or whatever it is. But with this format, instead of having that 27 cards that we're trying to fill up, I felt more like I was kind of defaulting to like having 35, 36 cards and having to trim those down to get back to the 30 in a reasonable manner. And I don't know about you or when you built your pools, but I maxed out at 3 off aspect cards. I didn't feel like I wanted to do more than that.
I'm just trying to think of that. That was my goal going into it. I'm trying to remember if I kept to it. Yeah, 3. I had 3.
Okay, yeah. I could see a world where maybe you could do more, but I can also tell you that I had some games play out where, I used my base for one of those cards, and then I drew one of them later on, and I'm like, these aren't quite good enough anymore. Like, they're still good cards, but not pay 2 more for them good. So, yeah. 3 still felt like probably my limit there. If for some reason I really had to stretch to get up to that 30 card limit, maybe I could go to 4 or 5. I wouldn't be happy with it. But yeah, so I think that general rule of thumb of aiming for those 2 or 3 off aspect cards, that seemed right. Especially if those are the, your late game 6, 7, 8 drop game enders. If you have those in there, like that's exactly what you want. I didn't have that. And that was the other struggle when it came to deck building. It was because I didn't have those late game finishers in either one of my pools, aside from the OP ones that I couldn't play. What I ended up doing was having to use my base splash to play some just really solid middle units. The units that cost 4 and 5. And they weren't like crazy impactful or completely game changing, but they were solid. Again, going back to the Aura Sing deck that I made the video for, one of them was Bosk, Like if you get bossed down on 4, yeah, that's great. Same thing with Hana. That was the blue-red orc. That's a 3/5 raid 2, restore 2. Like happy with that one. And then the last one was the Tamarin Barcona. That's the 5-cost 4/6 that when you play, you can defeat a credit token and then give an experience token to a unit. So those were my off-color splashes, just 4 and 5 drops. Because in my head, I'm thinking, if for some reason I get one of these late and I already used my base, well, like I could probably afford paying 2 extra for one of these. And I could, like they got into my hand and I was able to pay more than 2 for them. But at no point did I ever choose to. Like I felt like I always had better plays than these middle units. And that's the other deck building struggle that I want to kind of talk about, or even let other people who are listening learn about, is that using your base splash for those kind of middling units does kind of make for some potentially like awkward hands or awkward plays in the late game.
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially, spoilers, I'll talk about my deck and my build and other things in a second, but I also, unfortunately, had to play Aura Sing Blue, or Aura Sing Yellow.
I know that pained you.
It realized I sent Jared my pools. We often will send each other, a picture of our the deck we constructed out of it, and just kind of we'll ask questions, to each other about the picks we made and things like that. And I sent it, and he's like, "Oh boy, this cannot be good for you," or something like that. I was like,
it was not an Austin deck. It just wasn't.
But I think there was several games where I played down to like the last 4 to 6 cards in my deck.
Oh, really? You're going that late?
And so I regularly had to, I used my base action every single game, and I had to resource those other splashed cards most of the time.
Interesting. Yeah, we could we can go segue right into that. Unless you had any other sealed pool building observations you'd like to share.
I don't think I had any broad strokes ones.
Okay, yeah. We can get a little more in depth then. So we can go over a specific pool. So my first pool, as I mentioned, had the 2 Obi-Wan legendaries that didn't really get to play them. I think one of my other rares was like Anakin's Pod Racer, and gonna be honest, I'm not fully remembering what the other 3 were. But it wasn't a great pool and it wasn't a great build. So I built Darth Vader Vigilance. So, which, let me tell you, didn't feel good. I did have That's a Rock, and I did get to do the thing one game where I activated Vader, discarded the card, and got to deal 2 damage to a unit. It was his turn 1 play as well. It was a 2/3, so it didn't end up mattering, but I did the thing.
Oh. I was ready for them to be like, yeah, man, got his 3/2.
Nope. No.
Okay.
Just got to do it.
Okay.
It was like I had a mulligan, and I mulliganed into that hand, and that was my only like first turn play.
Yeah.
It was not particularly good. Vader did not feel particularly good. Like he literally just didn't do anything until he deployed. And what I found in my matchups is by the time he deployed, it no longer mattered because I was already losing. I think he can certainly be a win more leader. Like if you're already ahead on the board and you bring him out, you're just going to push your advantage. But I didn't feel like he quite did enough to catch me up in a meaningful way to help me also like get the damage back on the opponent's base and make it so that they suddenly had to be defensive. It didn't quite get there for me. It was also not a very good build, I can tell you that. I was kind of rushed for time at the end because I was trying to make those Obi-Wans work and I didn't know what else to do, so I just kind of slapped together this Vader. And then in between the rounds, special shout outs to Kevin who helped me out with this one. We actually swapped the deck over to the client command, which did feel a little bit better.
Okay.
I will say, and the client, perfectly reasonable leader. Just this is a the 4/4 shield on deploy. The ability of being able to exhaust a unit if you made a token, like it can. What we did find that actually kind of worked a little bit better for him was I had 3 of those 2-drop space units as a 2/2 shielded unit. And when you got 3 of those, you're making shields pretty often, and those are tokens. So I actually had more opportunities to activate the client and just kind of slow down my opponent's second best unit, as we've talked about, which it is something that is still saving you some base damage, but it's just not, the best thing in the world. But I did find that there was a world where I had enough of these shielded units that I was able to activate the client's ability more than once per game and not just off his own leader flip turn. And that makes me think there might be a possibility in a draft where if you get the client, you grab a lot of these small shielded units or whatever, and you can use that with them.
So probably pairs best with Vigilance then, because that's where you're going to see your most shields. Vigilance and Cunning are going to be where you see the most shields.
Yeah, I suppose so, huh? I was with Green, so Command, just because I had like enough like Underworld and Bounty Hunter units that I had the 5/5 search the top 5 for Bounty Hunter. Mm-hmm. So we had like a little bit of just fetch another card units in there, and again, like that was like the only place I had 5/5s for 5. So I did what I could.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that was the first pool. I only got to do the 2 matches for it. I was mostly there to help fill in a seat so that the event would fire. So I wasn't super invested or trying too hard, whatever. But that was cool. Like I still had a great time with it, and I was excited. I was excited until I got to the actual building part because that was hard. The second pool that I did went a little bit better. This is the one that I sent you the image of. This is and the one that I'll have the video up on the channel sometime this week. This is that Aura Sing deck. This one I actually liked quite a bit. It actually felt pretty good to play. And we both got to play Aura Sing.
Sure did.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my own, I guess, more optimistic thoughts on it than you did. But yeah, I had plenty of solid units and a surprising amount of board control off of those. The ambushers were great. Bladewing was great. Jabba's Rancor was good. I had 2 kill switches. The 2 cost -1/-1 and exhausted unit upgrade. And then I also had just the 1 Lost and Forgotten, the 6 cost kill a unit and restore 3 damage off your base. Yeah, all those were good. Like, I actually liked all my units. I would say my top end was a little weaker because the only thing I had that cost 7 or more was the Rancor and that neutral 5/7 Space Sentinel, which was still fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like I didn't mind that one as much. But I also had the Axe Forgets to help like kind of bounce up their earlier plays, and those 2/2 shielded units again ended up liking way more than I thought because most of my opponent turn 1 plays were 2/3s. Not all the time, but a lot of times they were 2/3s. So I was able to attack into them, and then Aura was there just to finish it. Like if my opening plays the 2/2 shielded in space, and their opening plays the Alliance X-Wing, it's just a 2/3. I was like, well, all right, great. I'm already going to go up in this exchange and be ahead.
Yeah.
I found myself liking Aura's ability a lot. I know, and your face suggests otherwise. And again, the way that I saw it going was, it wasn't, I didn't see it in a way where it was kind of warping my plays or my perspectives, where I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, what can I do to set her up so I can activate her and kill their dude for 1? I saw it more as it was making combat awkward for my opponent because they're looking and thinking, crap, I can't attack into this unit with just this because then I'm going to get Aura Singed. And that allowed me to kind of flip the script a little bit, as it were, because rather than trying to take out their units, I'm pushing base damage and forcing them to deal with mine. And if they try to deal with mine, I've got that sniper off in the distance, just kind of ready to pick them off. I did like her flip turn, where she just comes out and she just kills something. Like, she always had a target and was always able to take out something. And a lot of times took out something impactful. Like, she was able to take down like Jango Fett's for free. Just like really good targets like that. Because a lot of people are, they're playing their good 6 drops, and a surprising amount of them have those 5 hit points. There were issues. There were concerns. And I'll let you talk about your deck and your observations, whether it's in general or Aura Sing in particular, because I'll probably just piggyback off of what you had.
Sure. So I had a good, the nice thing about the leaders being the way they are is that most of them are fine. Like, you're like, I'm not crazy. I mean, not all of them are like, I'm not crazy about playing these, but like, I think all of these, it's probably the most playable set of leaders that I think we've had in all the sets.
Sure.
And so, like, you're not, because in Secrets of Power, like, for those that don't know, at the Milwaukee event, my leaders were a Showcase Cassian, so I already won. 2 Luthans, a C3PO, and 2 Dryden Voss.
Oof.
And it's like, they're just unmistakably not good leaders.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's like there's not really any of them where I'm like, oh yeah, if I opened 6 Hans or something like that, like, yes, okay, sure, not super happy about it, but like, I don't think he's unplayable in the way that some of those others are.
It's not like he's C3PO or DJ,
right? Exactly. So it's there's play to everybody. So I opened Callus, Aura, Hera, Han, Enfys, and Saw. So all perfectly playable. Was going to depend more on where my pool went. I won't play out all the rares. I had some I had a Fires Across the Galaxy and a L337 were 2 pretty big misses in terms of rares, but I also had like a Shadow of Stygian Prime and the Stranger. So two cards, and they already shared 2 aspects of the 3 there. So a nice sort of place to start. I think other notable stuff that I had that they really kind of drew me in a lot of different directions is I had 2 Broken Horns, I had a Tantive 4, and I had 2 Guild Team Ambushers, Finn, Mastery, Hana, and Bosk. So I had some really good cards, and a lot of these, what I started to notice is a lot of them formed up around Cunning as their base. Finn, Stranger, Shadows of Stygian Prime, the Guild Ambushers, all are base Cunning or solely Cunning units. So I was building up from there. I didn't really want to be a because it's pre-release, so I also had Jabba and Leia technically. I really didn't want to be Jabba, and I had the client there, of course, too. But I wanted the one of the reasons I picked Aura specifically was I did have some good vigilance cards, but I also had Callus that I could have played and probably would have been a little bit more style. But I wanted to test my 7-drop theory. Honestly, I wanted to see how if 7-drop was going to be more playable. Sure. And I think that pre-release to me is the time to test that. Like, you're low stakes, and it's the first thing that you do. So now you get to carry that knowledge with you for the rest of the set. Like, okay, 7-drops are a thing, and I should not avoid them or something like that, like we have in the past. And so I ended up building out. I built the deck that Austin wanted to play. I built Saw Blue. And it was fine. Like, if it was a vast majority of it was like, somewhere between C- and C+, and got a couple of quality like Bs in there and stuff like that. But again, like I said, I wanted to test out the Aura, and Aura allowed me to play Shadows of Stygian Prime and like the Stranger, which seemed more, while neither of those I think are A's, they are stronger than some of my, good uncommons that I was playing in Saw. So there's technically 3 decks in there because I debated playing Callus as well, but there wasn't any heroic units other than like the Tantive 4. And at that point, like Callus still being out to gain the 2 health was very unlikely. Things like that. Like they just didn't line up for what I wanted to be doing. And the other ones I didn't want to play. You know, the whole thing behind like the Masasi Group Marines is they're a 3-cost 4/4. Well, now they're with Callus, they're 4-cost 4/4. That's just not exciting anymore.
Right.
So yeah, I built Aura on the backs of those kinds of things, and my splash cards were Hana, Bosk, and the Shadows of Stygian Prime. I played against a Boba Red, an Enfys Yellow, and an Aura Mirror. Well, he was Aura Red. I went 2-1, and the Boba was one of the things I wanted to keep track of for the 7-cost was how much damage is on my base when Aura flips. Finally, how far, what's the disparity in damage? And I think for Boba, I should specify like my LGS plays best of 1, so it's
yeah.
I only get 1 game. I had 18 damage on my base when I flipped against Boba, and I had 3 damage on his.
Yeah.
And Enfys, I had 16, I think, on base, and Aura, I had 1, but I'll get to that in a minute. One of the things that didn't help me, I should have mentioned in my pool build, was across everything, all of my colors, I had 4 3-drop units. 5 3-drop units. 4 of them are heroic.
Oh,
I'm playing legitimately the only 1 3-drop unit that I can that is, and it wasn't villain, it was just generic, and I don't actually think I ever saw and played it on turn 3. Like I just never saw it. So like it was helping my like I am behind, because I'm effectively playing another 2-drop on my resource 3 turn, which obviously is not good. And most of the time even on my turn 4, I even though I had some pretty good turn 4s, I had several games where I had 2 games where I played 2 2s instead. So I did feel like, and I think, but I was also keep tracking a number of times I used my Aura ability 2 times in the Boba, and the first one was it was a pre-release thing, and he was like, okay, I'm going to get the credit, I'm going to attack into your guy and get my credit off of my bounty hunter killing your guy. I was like, okay, I Aura Sing your guy. He's like, oh, right. He never made that mistake again, obviously. But he did end up using that credit for good effect. He used it a little later in the game to play the 8/9 Overwhelm AT unit, in green, which I had to throw a unit into so that when I flipped Aura Sing, she could kill it. So like he did, while you have like these nice like 6 drops and stuff like that, you're just able to kill flat out with her trade. I almost never. I had to do something to make her ability work almost every single time that I flipped her. Or like the Enfys game, I had the skirmisher, the 4/4 in space that we were talking about during the Crack-a-Pack.
Yeah,
that dealt me almost the entirety of the 16 damage. And that's who so I got to kill her cleanly with Aura, but after taking 16, nearly 16 from it.
Yeah, I've actually had similar situations too, where they just had a surprisingly prominent space unit, but it was cracking in for a couple of turns before I got to deploy Aura and just get rid of it.
Yeah, I think that's one of her weaknesses, like that being able to kill one, if you're not able to brawl in space with her as much, you can't drop those units to 1 health or kill them outright. Like,
well, my stores do best of 3, so I got to actually kind of learn decks. My first matchup was against a Boba Yellow, and I know we kind of said it in the set review, but it's worth repeating here. In sealed deck, those 8-cost AT/ACT 8/9 overwhelms, turns out those are perfectly fine finishers, because let me tell you, she had 2 of them. I was able to Blade Wing one away for a little bit. But yeah, like there was a time where like those came down. I'm just like, yeah, that's just big enough to be such a problem that I can't send all my units into it. I can't aura sing it. I can't really do much of anything. I could stall. And of course, it was a Boba Fett deck, so she was able to, get plenty of credits early on. That came down a little bit early. So, yeah, I think if you're going to be doing sealed and you got those ACTs that the 8-9 overwhelms, perfectly fine finisher. I had one in my pool as well, and I actually considered bringing it in just as an extra top end finisher that I could use the base activation on. I ended up not doing that just because so many of my other ones were cheaper, and I knew I was going to see those more often. But I considered it just because after that game, I was like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty legit.
Good.
I don't know if I had as much disparity in my base damage like you did playing Aura Sing. It was actually pretty close with Boba Fett. One of the games I won with Boba Fett, though, I only had like 2 damage on my base. In a match against a Jabba Green, they had plenty of 2-drops that were just X1s. And even though they're shielded or whatever, I could just ping them away, and they learned real fast how Aura Sing's ability works. But what I will say, my hardest matchup was Enfys Nest Yellow. And I just got steamrolled. Just completely overwhelmed, and too much damage was done. And what I found from Enfys Nest was the ability didn't matter. I don't think at any point in time was the double on attack effect ever really used. For the most part, all he did was play Enfys Nest because it's the only 3/7 leader on turn 5. Or 5 resource turn, I should say. And that mattered a lot. And each game, when Enfys Nest deployed, he would then play the Staccato Lightning Repeater onto Enfys Nest. So now it's not a 3/7, it's a 6/8, and he just pewed down one of my guys for 3 damage. And that was one of my other early observations that I thought, I was like, okay, so he's playing Enfys Nest, and he's kind of battle shipping her up. Like, you're just getting upgrades on her. He also had the Enfys Nest's helmet. So it's like, okay, so that's kind of getting big. And we're getting a bigger Enfys Nest. And then I'm thinking, okay, so what is in my deck that stops that? And then I realized I was like, oh, I don't have anything in my deck that stops it. I just have to send units into her. But then I thought bigger picture, and I thought, what's in the set that stops that? And
you didn't want to pick that Sabine Wren over the skit.
There's a Sabine. There's a Sabine Wren. I guess that's the only thing that really defeats an upgrade. So I think that might be a possible strategy going into the sealed, or maybe more appropriate, a bigger problem going into sealed is that still turns out just battle shipping up your leader, deploying your leader, and just getting upgrades on them. Doesn't matter what, whether it's the Staccato Lightning Repeater for the +3/+1, the Mastery card, I think is going to be the scariest one, where they just get +3/+3 for 3 resources. And I think that is just, no matter what your leader is, I think that's just going to be a very viable tactic. It's just getting something bigger than they can deal with.
I don't think there's especially I think you're talking, I think the Staccato, if it's either uncommon or rare, and the helmet is definitely rare, and the thermal detonator is rare. A lot of the actual upgrade cards are much in secrets. We had every color had a common plot upgrade, so they were everywhere. They were everywhere. You usually got one or two of a couple of colors in your sealed pools and things like that, where I think it's going to be more uncommon to get upgrades like that in sealed in Lawless Time.
Sure. Well, I'm going to hit you with this. Mastery is a common.
Mastery's common. Yeah. I think that's the number one. That's target number one.
Yeah, that's the scariest
most
one.
Most likely to see that one.
Yeah.
And it is the scariest. Most certainly, which is why maybe you consider taking Sabine Wren a little higher than your 4/6, but whatever.
Yeah, but that was kind of the same observation. Was just the upgraded leaders was tough to deal with, and as much as I enjoy using Aura Singh to, defeat units and felt good about it, and then deploying her to kill units, that 3/7 stat line really holds her back, and a 7 deploy really holds her back. Like there's a couple of times where I felt like I really had control of the board, and I did. I just wasn't able to really push damage enough to win the game from there.
Yeah, that's kind of what. She just doesn't do. It feels dumb to say that, like that she doesn't do enough, but like I felt I was always behind when I flipped, and like I was depending. My pool was winning the 2 games I won. Aura Singh didn't win me the game. My pool won me the game. She just happened to be there.
Sure.
Because I typically had to manufacture a scenario where her flip was even good to begin with. But my 5s, I talked about it, but kind of laying it out more directly. On 5, I have the Stranger, 2 of the guild ambush teams, and on 6 I have Finn. So I have 4 extremely powerful ambushers, and I always had 1 or 2 of them in my hand by that point in the game because I had such a density of them. That it was almost, that was, one good observation was the guild ambush team functioned really well for Aura Singh's ability, because there's a lot of these 6 health units around, so they jam in for 5 and then Aura finishes for the 6th. But yeah, I'm manufacturing these scenarios with my card pool. Like she's not good on her own. She needed significant help, I felt like, from my pool. Sure.
That was one of my other early observations. And I don't know if this is bias or not, but I'm just going to say it. I think cutting is really good.
Yes, I think.
I think the yellow cards are actually really good this time around, which is different because usually people are a little down on cunning because they tend to lack the power or lack the utility or whatever it is. Remember at the beginning of Secrets of Power, nobody wanted to touch yellow. Everyone just avoided it until, people learned the whole Leia strat with her. But people are just like, yeah, yellow sucks, don't touch it. But this time around, yellow just seems really good. We got those guild ambushers. There's also the creature ambusher. I think it's a 5/6 for 5. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like having both of those in a pool is great. Blade Wing was also excellent. A lot of this, there's way more Saboteur in this set than there was Secrets of Power, which also matters. And a lot of that Saboteur is in yellow. So yellow also having the raid units, the Saboteur units, the shielded units. I just early on, I think yellow might be one of the stronger colors you could possibly play. This might be recency bias. I haven't gone through all the mathematics and data and all that, but when you're doing your sealed pools or for your pre-releases or practicing for your PQs or whatever, keep an eye out for yellow. It seemed pretty strong to me.
Yeah, I think my final notes for my pool were just grades I felt like I would shift perhaps based on how they performed. And that's Hana, we were already really strong on. I think we had like a B- or something like that. I think that I bump her to B because
just solid B.
Just a beater. And nobody loved when I played that, when I played her down, nobody liked to see her, and she involved, she needed to be taken out with 2 units or something like that typically. And by that point she'd swung, dealt 5 by herself and healed 2 from my base, which was really important in Aura because I always had just a pile of damage on my base.
Just a reminder for the listeners, Hana is the blue-red 3/5 raid 2 restore 2 for 5.
And so I splashed her very effectively off the base, and I played her almost every time she hit my hand. She is what I wanted to be doing. I also, again, it's going to be a similar sort of the guild ambush teams. I think we had them at like a C+ or something like that. I'd move them to a B-. They just slap.
I think I'm going to agree with you. Yeah, if I was in a draft situation and I saw those, I'd probably be taking them pretty highly.
And then this is going to be kind of a common theme here, but Finn, one of my other ambushers, I think we had him at a B-. I'd move him to a B too. Just really solid.
Yep.
Good stuff. And then I was initially, I think this is only moving mine, but I was initially a little further down on hold for questioning, and I think that just it plays out. I didn't get much of a chance to play it. I think I only got to play it once or twice, but it was often good in the areas where I did. And I think it will be a solidly performing event.
That's a 3-cost cutting villainy event that allows you to exhaust a unit, look at their hand, and discard a card that shares an aspect with that unit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I wish I had
which is plenty for 3. Like just a good rate. Cards I was a little bit further down on. Honestly, the Stranger I moved from a B to a B minus. The one thing I didn't take into account when grading this is the number of units that have a 2-point disparity. So what you need, for those, he's a grit ambusher, but he allows you. He's a 1/7, I think, grit ambusher, but he allows you to take damage from. Allow the defender to deal damage first, so that he would gain that amount of power from grit. But in something like that, like those 4/6s, he doesn't kill it, since he only has 1 default power himself. He takes 4, gets bumped up to 5 power, and doesn't kill the 4/6.
Yeah, but then your Aura Sing does.
But then like your Aura Sing does, sure, and it didn't. But then and then it's also what ended up happening most of the time is like, okay, I did that. And now he has 2 hit points left, and like their dumb 2-drop that was just kind of dorking around just mops him up. So he killed 1. He didn't kill 1 relevant unit that I had to use something else. I had to use my leader action for, and then he just got cleaned up by the least relevant unit on board.
Yeah, I see what you're meaning. Like when he ambushes in, like he better be able to kill whatever it is he has to go into. And you're right,
legendary, especially considering Finn and Guild Ambushers, one's a common and one's an uncommon. Those guys cleaned house very regularly.
Sure.
Sometimes they had to die back, was their problem. I was also down on Bix. Like I had a really high, I think exceedingly too high.
That's the 4/5 for 4, where on attack you discard 2 cards from your deck?
No, that's Bix is the when played or on attack, you can discard a card to make a credit. So she's hot 1 at home.
Okay.
Which a 4 cost 4/5 by itself is just fine, but I felt like, especially in Aura, I didn't want to be discarding the cards in my hand to make the credits. It was more of a cost than I wanted to pay. I imagine if you're drawing your dorky, your 1 and 2 drops, but most of the time my hand was filled with 5s and 6s and 7s and stuff like that, and I just didn't want to pitch them to her ability to make 1 credit. I think that math changes if you have like a Luke Skywalker or something like, something that is in your hand that you want to power out. I didn't. My only 7, like while you got to play a Jabba's Rancor, my only 7 was the Kessel Hulk, the 5/7 in space. So I typically resourced him anyway. I just never wanted him. And then the only other one, I didn't assign a grade change to it, but Mastery in an ambush and Aura deck is not nearly as good as it is everywhere else. But I don't want to put it on my 5/4 that has 1 hit point left after ambushing something, and Aura Sing comes out too late to slap on her, slap an upgrade on her and have like you can't, like I found I didn't have the time to throw an upgrade on her and try. She's not swinging. Like if she was a 5, like a 5/7 or something like that, we're slapping it on her suddenly. Now she's whacking in for 8. That's a huge difference. But like bringing her a 7 deploy leader, bringing her up to 6 on the 7 resource turn, just you're not creating enough of a clock with that math. I think overall I would keep it exactly where it is, because it's going to be great at literally everywhere else. I just didn't feel like it was. It certainly underperformed in the style of deck that I was playing.
That makes sense. I had Max Rebo played on me.
I had the band, but not him himself.
Max Rebo himself. This is the 2/7 green yellow legendary unit that says there's an additional regroup phase, and that was played on me. And what I found was I just kind of ignored it. I was like, sure, you want to let me get the extra resource and draw an extra card? I was already playing Aura Sing. You're making Aura Sing come out faster for me? That sounds great. This was against a Jabba, so I wasn't getting like super punished for a Jabba coming out earlier, but I was loving drawing the extra cards and getting the extra resources out of it. But the main thing, kind of like we talked about the set review, that seemed to be how it actually played out was, it's a funny effect, but to power out their leader, even if it was just a Jabba, you only played a 2/7, and it certainly wasn't threatening me. And I had 4/5s out or 4/6s or whatever it was in the 4 resource turn, and I was just getting the damage in and just not really caring. So Max Rebo, we had a pretty low grade, and after seeing it played, I would probably keep him right there.
Yeah. I was gonna say the only thing is to read it. My one loss was also to my Enfys Yellow opponent, but he didn't upgrade the crap out of his unit. He had a Chrysanthemum, a Luke Skywalker, an Airy, which for those that don't remember, that's that 3/7 that on attack it deals 2 to a ground unit and 2 to base with Enfys Nest deployed.
Oh, yeah.
I can see he played it on like the 7 resource turn or something like that, and I'd already flipped Aura or whatever, and I had all my resources up, and I just had to claim without spending any resources to get something that tapped it down or something, and I didn't get it, and I just conceded. Like the game was over. Like he was going to deal me, 3 from Enfys at the bare minimum, and then also take like 7 or something like that from the Airy plus kill one of my ground units.
I had those 2 kill switches. I ended up liking those a lot.
Yeah, I didn't get any of those.
Yeah, those felt great to play. The biggest thing that just after this weekend, again, it is pre-release. This is the most casual option when it comes to limited, but it's still limited. And coming out of this, I did not feel more sure of how the set's going to play out or how I want to build my decks. I felt like I walked away with more questions. And I think that's the biggest thing with this format, which honestly I think is actually kind of exciting, is that this seems like the biggest puzzle that we still need to crack. Because the last set felt pretty solved pretty quickly. Like really early on, everyone knew Leia was good, Colonel Eulerin was good, Jabba was good. This set, it's like, I don't know yet. The last thing I do want to bring up was I did get to play against a Velsartha, who, sure enough, was giving out the experience tokens and giving me the credits. This is when I was playing the Darth Vader deck, though. So it's not like I got to really punish them for giving me credits because I didn't really have anything kind of worth playing afterwards. But sure enough, it wasn't like Leia where you're activating it every single time. Like there was a lot of consideration going into it, and my opponent kind of had to dance around me still having resources open and not making sure not to give me an additional extra credit instead of letting me pay something for 5 or 6 early when they just want to get that experience token. So he actually had a couple of early claims of the initiative, which was smart, and that's good. But the experience tokens is still very good. And what my prediction is that Velsartha is going to be really, really good early on, because just getting those experience tokens and making your smaller units or weaker units better is going to be good. But I think very quickly, people are going to learn how to punish that. They're going to learn how to hold on to those cards, or maybe not resource their most expensive thing because they know I might get a credit and be able to play it this turn, and try to see if they can't bait their Velsartha opponent into giving them that credit. And unlike Leia, Velsartha really can't do her activation every single turn. So it's not going to be as oppressive as Leia, I feel. It's still pretty good, and I think it's going to be good early on. But yeah, I think early on, people are going to learn how to play against that, especially the ones who are listening to this podcast, because we're going to tell you all about how to do that.
I think my final takeaway, and this is going to be a really way too early take. So I didn't play Spark of Rebellion Limited, which I think I mentioned last time, and which many people regard as the best limited format that Star Wars had. My early call is this is going to be it.
You think this is going to be the best one?
I think this is going to be the best one.
Okay,
with how open it feels.
Okay,
how much the leader pool all feels like, I won't say equal, but like none of them like just outright suck or unplayable like we've had over the last couple of sets. I feel like this is going to be the best.
I sincerely hope you're right, because that would be incredibly exciting. I personally like Secrets of Power more than Sparks of Rebellion Limited. What are you giving me that face for?
Okay. 331 Leias in day one.
I did the plot mechanics, the different types of play were all really good. Granted, I also did a lot more Secrets of Power over Sparks of Rebellion. But I'm telling you, I like Secrets more. But if that's the case, and you're saying that this set can be better than that, that's exciting, and I hope you're right. All right, let's call it a show, Waston. If you want to find me across social medias, I am at ProJared. Feel free to send any questions or comments about the show over my way, or if you're watching the YouTube version, please leave them down in the comments section down below. And if you got it all the way to the end, it would mean a lot if you did subscribe and like the video. Tell your friends about the podcast, share it around and all that, especially if you know any other limited fiends who want to get better at Star Wars Unlimited through Limited. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Austin, I had a couple of people come up to me over the weekend that I wanted to share with you because I actually thought it was really, really nice. So like I said, I was at the Emerald City Comic Con and I was in the Star Wars Unlimited room volunteering. So I was there helping run Learn to Plays, where people came in who like just wanted to learn how to play. So I got to sit down and teach them, which was really cool. Got to do a lot of those. Felt really nice.
Did you do the intro battle to Hoth?
Yeah, we used the intro battle to Hoths, which turns out actually a really good set for teaching people. There's a lot of cards in there that kind of wish were like saved for like the actual set. Like that's like the only place right now where you can just get like a snowtrooper. Just snowtrooper. It's like I kind of want that just like in the main set.
Just that guy.
He's like, it's just a guy. Like can I get some more of those? But anyway, but because we also got to we ran several Lawless Time pre-release events, which is really cool. One of them was a Carbonite pre-release, and someone opened a Prestige serialized Millennium Falcon. And I know a lot of people weren't big on the Prestige artworks, especially the kind of generic-looking backgrounds. But I gotta tell you, when they're foil Prestige, it looks really good. I think I forgive them for that because dang, that looked good.
Yeah.
But But the biggest thing that I got from both running the Emerald City Comic Con events and just doing my own pre-release at my local store was I actually had a lot of people who came up and just said, your set review was so helpful.
Good.
And I was like, really? You watched it? Yeah, and I just wanted to let you know about that because people did watch it, and a lot of people did find it really, really helpful. Whether it was local players or people who just happened to be in the area for the Comic-Con and all that. And I was like, wow, that makes me feel good because that's why I want to do it. That I want to help people get better in Limited, understand Draft and Sealed more so that they want to play it more because I think it's the most fun way to play the format. And it was really, really validating just to have the people who out there come up and actually say so to me in person at the pre-release or at Emerald City or even just like in the comments and all that too. I really do appreciate it. So to all those out there who did come up and say hi, I just want to shout out and give one last thank you for that. So thank you guys.
Yeah, I had a couple as well. Like I appreciated that. Like I actually followed up with like all like, oh yeah, I saw it. I was like all 6 hours. Like, yeah.
I had a couple of that too. They said they had basically each time they had to drive to and from work, they slowly got through it. But yeah, eventually they got all 6 hours in there.